Thanks for joining us here tonight on Arc Salt Lake. I'm Brian Schneed. It is Monday, September 15th, and by now you're all too familiar with the murder and the situation involving political activist Charlie Kirk from last week at Utah Valley University. Since then, there's been a lot of misinformation circling around, making that horrific event even harder to understand. And today we're going to go in depth on that latest information we have surrounding the accused shooter, Tyler Robinson, and the reaction of two major institutions affected by this. So today, Utah Valley University faculty and staff return to campus ahead of classes starting back up Wednesday. The FBI says everyone there at the time of the shooting is considered a victim and resources are available to them. A center for victims has been established at the Young Living Alumni Center, where students can relieve their items left behind in the chaos and receive in-person access to mental health resources. They can also reach out to student services to find out what else is available. A common question in cases like this: how do we find local and impartial jurors for a case like this one? Now, that'll be down the line, right? We're kind of looking ahead. But when literally thousands were traumatized on location that day in Orem, and emotions that can come from gun violence of any kind against anyone, we went to criminal defense attorney Sky Lazaro asking if Robinson is charged, how will he get a fair trial? And to be clear, Sky is only giving her expert opinion and analysis on this. She's not involved in this investigation involving Tyler Robinson.
These cases are always really difficult, where we see a lot of news media coverage on a national, very national level in this case, where it's essentially hitting every market. It does get more and more difficult to see a fair jury trial, if this case does proceed to a jury. However, because we've seen so much in the media, and that's just the world that we live in right now, they've put in some certain protections. They call a larger number of jurors, things like that, to try to ensure that you get people on there who are at least seemingly or will say that they're unbiased in the case.
The booking photo of Tyler Robinson was released by Governor Cox's office on Friday, just 2 days after the shooting and just hours after Tyler was taken into custody. So in 2021, a state law changed the previously available booking photos or mugshots to significantly restricted only until the suspect has been convicted. And in some cases, we still wouldn't even get those. But there are exceptions to that ruling, like a believed threat to public safety. So we also asked Sky if potential defense attorneys for the accused could use these actions and comments made by politicians against them.
That law was passed, I believe, back in 2021 that precludes the sheriff's agency from releasing those mugshots, because if someone is booked on suspicion of a crime and it turns out they're not the person who committed it, that has long-lasting effects on a person's life going forward. And so the purpose behind that law was really to say, hey, we're going to protect their identity, to protect the integrity of the investigation, protect the safety of the individual, their family, all those sorts of concerns that went into the drafting of that bill. So I think it's unfortunate in a lot of ways that this has become so politicized and that those photographs have been released. People can say what they want in the media, but cases and charges need to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law, and that takes more than just personal feelings. That really comes down to what's the evidence, what are the facts that the prosecuting agency can prove against Mr. Robinson to tie him to these murders.
Now, from his White House office, Vice President J.D. Vance hosted the Charlie Kirk Show today in a tribute to the late political activist.
He was a critical part of getting Donald Trump elected as president, getting me elected as vice president. And so much of our success over the last 7 months is due to his efforts, his staffing, his support, and his friendship.
A lot of guests on the show today, including White House staff. Tucker Carlson was on there. Vance goes on to claim Kirk was one of the smartest political operatives he has ever met. He also claims left-wing extremism is part of the reason Kirk was killed last week. He's one of multiple White House officials blaming Kirk's assassination on political rhetoric from the left. And that also coming out from other folks today, including the governor over the last few days. Democrats have cautioned against placing blame, arguing it's time to come together and condemn violence of any sort. Students returning to the UVU campus to pick up their belongings. Others were there to grieve and find peace ahead of classes resuming on Wednesday. Leslie Duarte spoke to students and the school about the reopening of campus.
It was a good closure. It's okay to kind of go back there. It makes it less scary, especially to do that before school resumes.
Jessica Moore, a student at UVU, says she needed to come back one more time before school starts on Wednesday.
We kind of walked through exactly where we had been and kind of like where we exited and got to a safe place, kind of just almost reenacting it a little bit. And so I think that was kind of helpful to kind of just remember that we did everything right in the situation.
Feeling safe, something Moore says she's coping with.
The first step is kind of just moving on a little bit and kind of just continuing with where you were.
What do you need from the school to be able to move forward and heal?
I think definitely pretending like it didn't happen isn't a good thing. I don't think that they're gonna do that by any means, but I think it's okay to like mention it and like just reminding all the students that like we're here for each other and that like we love everyone.
Hunter Sower wasn't at the event, but asks the school to help those impacted.
I think the biggest thing is helping people talk and process what's happened. So I think they've done well with that.
I reached out to UVU for an interview. The school declined, but in a statement said, "We have mobilized additional counseling and trauma support services for all members of the campus community and urge everyone to seek help."
Eventually we'll get back into it and everything will be okay again.
As mentioned, the university is offering mental health counseling for the UVU community. You can find that information on our KUTV 2 News website. Reporting from the courtyard at UVU, Leslie Duarte, KUTV 2 News.
And construction crews are out there early this morning removing that concrete, which is where Charlie Kirk was stationed during his speech, and laying down new concrete. So with classes resuming at UVU, Governor Cox is sharing a message with all Utah students across the state.
Right now, it may feel like rage is the only language in our politics, but you have the power to choose differently. Every person you meet is more than a party or more than a label, more than a post online. Everyone deserves dignity and respect.
That's part of about a 2-minute video that the governor sent out to all students and educators across the state, not just college, but high school and other school districts. Governor Cox says Utah's college campuses must be a place for the free exchange of ideas. He says that means talking to people you disagree with instead of fighting. And the governor also calling on Utah college students to spend less time, high school students as well, less time online and more time talking to others or doing what he says Utah does best, giving service. Live look at Utah State University, where Turning Point USA's The American Comeback Tour has a scheduled stop later on in the month on September 30th. The event will take place inside, but the daytime outdoor Prove Me Wrong table will not take place. We learned this today. The event was organized by a student club there on campus. Utah State telling us the university has been planning security for this event since it was announced earlier this year. And USU says they plan to work with the student club and Turning Point to ensure the safety of anyone who attends the campus event. In southern Utah, Liv Kelleher at Dixie Tech College, where Robinson was enrolled with the electrical apprenticeship program at one point. She spoke with one of Robinson's former employers, gaining some insight on Robinson's day-to-day life.
This work was part of Tyler Robinson's 45-month program at Dixie Technical College, where students split time between apprenticeships and evening classes. His former employer described Robinson as on the quieter side, someone who kept his head down, tried to learn the tools of the trade, and never raised any red flags. Students I spoke to said because it's a commuter school, there isn't much of a community outside of the classroom, and few I spoke with knew or saw Robinson on campus. College President Jordan Rushton addressed students Sunday evening, saying security has been tightened and they are working with St. George Police to keep campus safe, a concern echoing throughout the community.
Actually, I've been already concerned about the safety of St. George for a minute now. I've been telling my kids all about the dangerous things that have been going on and how close it is to home.
Nielsen, who lives in the same complex as Robinson, says she's seen him around but never suspected anything was wrong.
It's just, I was just telling my daughter, like, isn't that an eye-opener?
On campus, students were discouraged from speaking with reporters, but one student said he felt the college has been transparent and that support services were available. In his statement, President Rushton emphasized this, saying mental health resources are readily available and his door is always open. In his message to students, the president also urged them to step away from their phones during this, quote, polarizing time and to look for the good around them. I reached out to the university for the chance to do an on-camera interview, but I did not hear back from them. Reporting in St. George, Liv Kelleher, KUTV 2 News.
Still ahead here on Arc Salt Lake, a Turkish tradition happening right here in Utah. Why this coffee break is seeing much more than just as a caffeine pit stop. Something I could use a cup of right now. An ancient tradition is brewing here in Salt Lake City, one that's less about caffeine and more about culture and connection. In today's Eye on Utah, Kristen Kenny takes us inside of the art of Turkish coffee reading.
It's an ancient tradition that's more than just a coffee break. It's a window into the future. And today, I'm going to see what my cup has to say.
Yeah, definitely could have cooled down a bit more, but Do you want to see it first?
Sure.
But before the reading, there's an ancient ritual. Brewed slowly, heated over sand, and always shared. For centuries, Turkish coffee readings have sparked wonder and connection.
And we have a saying.
And for Ishel,
that if you share a cup of Turkish coffee with someone, then you are committed to a 40-year relationship, 40-year friendship.
It's a saying she carried from Istanbul to Utah 24 years ago.
What brought you to Utah?
I came here during the Winter Olympics here.
Oh.
Yes, as an intern. Next thing I know, I have family here and 2 kids.
Now she shares this ancient art with new friends.
This coffee cup becomes a portal.
The cup is flipped, the grounds settle, and the shapes emerge.
Traditional coffee readings are usually looking at the symbols in the cup.
Oh, I see a triangle. Is that
right? A triangle is actually abundance.
Abundance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, triangle is abundance.
I like that.
The art of coffee reading spans centuries and cultures.
The whole Mediterranean, Greek culture, Balkans, Middle Eastern.
And it became a part of palace life.
Sultan had the whole Turkish coffee crew. Just for the Turkish coffee. They were drinking coffee and then they start inviting these fortune tellers, coffee ground readers to the harem, to the palace. And this became a thing.
Centuries later, the tradition is still alive, right here in Salt Lake.
I'm not a big believer of magic or, juju. Like, maybe I'm just telling people, what they need to hear.
Step by step, the cup tells a story.
I have to tell you that most of this cup looks clean, almost like you let go a lot of what you need to let go, like last 1 to 2 years.
For Ishel,
because this is absolutely not a source of income for me. I don't want to lose that.
The true meaning goes beyond the fortune.
It adds to the color of this, city.
Yeah.
One sip at a time.
I just want to enjoy it.
She's adding culture and wonder to this city.
It's for a great little community. We always make tea or coffee whenever we get together.
Kristen Kenny, KUTV 2 News.
Salt Lake City inviting some residents to help them create a new climate action plan. The city says it has a goal to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by the year 2040. Mayor Erin Mendenhall wants to identify key priorities to hit that goal. That's why she's asking everyone to take part in a survey online. You've got until Halloween to take that survey. And then I question, what day is Halloween on this year? Does anyone ever remember? It's definitely going to change in terms of our weather by the time we get to Halloween. Things will cool down. We've already seen the days shorten up a little bit and temperatures start to drop pretty significantly overnight. Meteorologist Chase Thomason here with our first alert forecast.
You probably noticed those longer nights, cooler mornings, and the fall colors beginning to change. Take a look at East Canyon today. Beautiful shot by Chris Williams. Still a lot of green out there, but you're seeing some patchy yellow, orange, and red. We're about a couple weeks away from peak fall foliage. So again, start thinking about those fall drives, those fall hikes. It's here, folks. Temperatures have dropped a few degrees today. We made it to 79 degrees, which is just a couple degrees below normal. It's all because of a weak cold front. Main part of the storm, though, is staying just to our north. Eventually, as we really transition to that fall type pattern, these storms will be impacting Utah. But at least we're seeing that cooler weather, at least for the northern half of the state over the next 24 hours. We've had a little bit of rain over the high Uintas east of Manila. I think by tomorrow afternoon, though, and you'll see on Future Track, we'll see a better chance for a shower or thunderstorm out in extreme northeastern Utah, including vernal and the Uinta Basin. Now here we are by 8 o'clock. We're still pretty quiet. Any evening plans? We can't rule out a couple of showers though for tonight, especially after midnight. Best chance will be from Rock Springs to Evanston, Park City, and maybe the Salt Lake Valley. But for your morning commute, it looks pretty quiet from Logan all the way down to St. George. Notice as we head into the afternoon, a few more showers and thunderstorms are possible across northeastern Utah as the main part of the storm begins to drift into portions of Wyoming and Colorado. We're kind of just on the edge of it, but we're dry. If you have any afternoon or evening plans for tomorrow. But temperatures dropping into the 50s tonight, so it will be a little cool out there by tomorrow morning. You might need a jacket or a sweater as you head out the door in the morning. In Logan at 40 degrees. We'll be in the low to mid 40s for the Wasatch back, low 50s in central Utah, and St. George tonight at 63 degrees. Nice rebound though, another warm day down in St. George at 94, Canaveral at 88 degrees, but a little bit more fall-like and pleasant in northern Utah with highs in the mid 70s, and that's going to be about 5 degrees below normal. We'll see highs only in the 60s in Park City and from Evanston to Rock Springs across our southwestern counties of Wyoming. As we head into the next few days, though, high pressure begins to slide in. So that'll keep things pretty warm in southwestern Utah. Still a northerly flow on Wednesday, so we have a couple more days in the 70s. That changes, though, on Thursday as winds are more out of the south. But cloud cover increases on Thursday ahead of our next storm. It's not a cold storm. It's coming from the southwest, but it looks like it could bring a few showers and storms to southwestern Utah on Friday, and then eventually going up and over this high on Saturday for northern Utah, then out of here by Sunday. Still some timing issues where I expect the heaviest rain is a little bit up in the air, but we could have a little bit of rain on Saturday, so keep that in mind if you have any weekend plans. But just stay tuned to the forecast, and we'll time out those storms for you as we get closer. Mid-90s in St. George through Wednesday, low 90s on Thursday. We drop to 87 on Friday. That's going to be your best chance for a little bit of rain. Highs near 90 over the weekend. Salt Lake, we are partly cloudy tomorrow, 76 degrees. We'll see if we get a little bit of rain early in the morning hours while we're sleeping. Sunny weather, warming up into the mid-80s by the end of the week, low 80s over the weekend, and we'll kind of keep it in the 80s as we head into next week.
3 nuns, 1 abandoned coven, and 0 regrets. Coming up on Ark Salt Lake, why these elderly sisters risked everything to return to a home without power or water. Hard to believe we're just a few weeks away from the Utah Jazz taking the court at the Delta Center. And ahead of this year's season, team leaders renewed their partnership with Instructure, the Salt Lake City-based makers of the Canvas learning management system. Leaders from both companies say they will honor local teachers with the most valuable educator program. The best part? The winners are educators nominated by their own communities. We love to see that. So the educators picked will get a custom jersey and a $1,000 classroom grant. While we teased this, taking a look at what's trending tonight, 3 elderly nuns have returned to their former convent in Austria after running away from their nursing home. Tisk, tisk. 88-year-old Sister Bernadette, 86-year-old Sister Regina, and 81-year-old Sister Rita say they were removed from the convent against their will, but the Archdiocese denies it. The diocese says it's not safe for them to live there because the building no longer has electricity or running water. The sisters are getting encouragement from their 10,000 plus Instagram followers. Supporters are also bringing the nuns waters and generators. While their long-term future remains uncertain, the nuns all say they won't return to the nursing home. I feel like there's been movies about this or something. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Be safe.